Good evening and welcome to the BBC News at 6. Labour has accused the Conservatives of dragging the election campaign into the gutter after a personal attack on the Labour leader, Ed Miliband. The Conservative Defence Secretary, Michael Fallon, said Mr Miliband had stabbed his own brother in the back over the Labour leadership and would stab the UK in the back by scrapping Britain's nuclear deterrent in order to win the support of the SNP. It's an accusation Labour strongly denies. Here's our Deputy Political Editor, James Landale. So a decision over the future of Trident is expected next year, and the outcome could shape Britain's standing in the world for many years to come, as our diplomatic correspondent James Robbins explains. Nearly 750,000 young people in the UK are unemployed, and with the election coming up, that is a particularly pressing issue for many of them and their families. To tackle the problem, Labour has promised today that all school pupils will get face-to-face careers advice, and the Conservatives have pledged 3 million new training places over the next 5 years. Our special correspondent Richard Bilton has been gauging the mood among young job seekers in York. Now, throughout the election campaign, we're talking to people across the UK, finding out what matters to them. This evening, a final thought from one young man seeking work. Good evening and welcome to the BBC News at 6. Nick Clegg says it is vital that the Liberal Democrats are part of the next government to stop it lurching off to the extremes. Launching the party's election manifesto, Mr Clegg said they would balance the books and eliminate the deficit by 2017-18. They'd use the money to spend more on education in England, an extra £2.5 billion, and they'd provide an extra £8 billion a year for the NHS. The Liberal Democrat leader said a vote for his party would stop the Conservatives or Labour governing on their own and would prevent UKIP and the SNP from holding the balance of power. Around 400 people, including many women and children, are still missing after their boat capsized off Libya. The African migrants who survived have been taken to the island of Sicily and the Italian mainland. The Italian Coast Guard says 10,000 migrants have been picked up off the Italian coast since Monday, and more boats are heading that way. Last year, an estimated 16 people died making that journey between January and March. A year later, the death toll for that same period is 30 times higher. 500 are believed to have lost their lives, and that doesn't include the 400 who went missing on Monday. Our Middle East correspondent Quentin Somerville reports from Misrata on the Libyan coast. The mother of a 21-year-old student who's died after taking diet pills has warned of the dangers of buying tablets online. Eloise Parry from Shrewsbury started feeling unwell shortly after taking 8 pills she'd ordered. She died just hours after reaching hospital. Police believe the tablets contained an industrial pesticide. Sean Lloyd reports. Good evening and welcome to the BBC News at 6. It's Tesco's biggest loss in its 96-year history and one of the largest ever reported by a British company. The supermarket giant has announced a £6.4 billion pre-tax loss. Much of that was down to a fall in the property value of its stores. But the company has also been battling changes in people's shopping habits and the rise of no-frills supermarkets. Here's our business editor, Kamal Ahmed. Good evening and welcome to the BBC News at 6. Skin cancer kills more than 2,000 people every year in the UK, but now doctors say they've seen spectacular results after a British-led clinical trial treated people with the most serious form of skin cancer using 2 drugs in combination which stimulate the immune system. In almost 60% of cases, the therapy caused tumours to shrink. The treatment, which helps the body recognise tumours and then destroy them, has also been used successfully for other cancers like lung and bowel. Our medical correspondent Fergus Walsh has been following one patient's treatment. A plane attempting to fly around the world using only the power of the sun has been forced to make an unscheduled landing in Japan to avoid bad weather. The Solar Impulse was on the 7th and longest leg of its journey from China to Hawaii, as Rupert Wingfield-Hayes reports. In Paris has become a shrine for amorous tourists and Parisians alike. Hundreds of thousands of padlocks with people's initials on have been attached to the railings on the Pont des Arts, left behind as a token of love.